Okay. Greetings, magical souls. I decided I wasn't sure if I was going to do a live this week, but it seems I have something to share. So before I started today's live, I did want to just honor the 4 beautiful souls who have joined my membership. And I do find it funny that I've started off with 4. So I'd really like to welcome Teresa, Lynn, Rosanna, and Elsbeta. Thank you so, so much for your support. And your presence just means more than you know. So, yeah. And you guys are starting this little community that I'm wanting to build. So a heartfelt thank you and welcome, welcome, welcome. So I wasn't sure whether I was going to have anything to share today, but I have had an interesting week. Yesterday I was a bit down actually, and this morning, I don't know, there's something weird going on. The energies are weird, and it's like there's been a palpable shift here where I am, at least. I can feel it. I can feel it in the air. I can feel it in the wind. And I must say that it doesn't feel like it was just a week ago that we did our whale ceremony. It feels like months have gone by. But anyway, today's live is a message for perhaps the weary and the sensitive ones, and maybe somebody just out there needs to hear this. And so before we begin, for anybody who is on the live, and even if you're watching it later, it doesn't really matter. Let's just take a breath. Things are happening so rapidly. It's just wherever you are, if you're watching this live or later, as I say, just take a moment to just breathe. Just be in the body. Really, really important. And so I'm sharing today, I have some notes in front of me because I made them this morning when I realized that I did want to share what had happened to me this week. But today's message has come through in the most beautiful way. I had 3 days, 3 finches, 3 different experiences. And as most of you know, when I have unusual encounters with birds, they very much speak to me about messages from the angelic realm. And if any of you have watched my video, I think it was called A Magical Cat, you will know that I believe that the animals can really bring through messages here in physical form. I believe that our animals in spirit and even our guides and our ancestors, our spiritual teams, let's just call them that, even our higher selves, even spirit, source, God itself. I really believe that sometimes these messages can come through in this physical form. And so it was very interesting because I have 2 cats, but they don't, thank goodness, they don't always harm the wildlife. I understand that they're cats, but yes, it's a bit of a thing in my house because I'm always torn about allowing my cats to be cats and then trying to save everything. So so really what happened is maybe what I should do is let's just start at the beginning. So on day 1, I was in my cabin for quite a long time. I was just working, meditating, creating videos, and I go into the house and there are feathers everywhere. And so I'm looking for the body or the bird or whatever it is, and I'm going, oh no, no, no. And I run down the stairs and there are my 2 cats in one of my daughter's bedrooms. And they were lying like right in front of the curtain. And I've pulled the curtain back and I'm looking and I'm thinking, where is this bird? And I can't see it. And then my cat decides to just climb the curtain right in front of me. And as I look up, I see this beautiful little finch with this little red face perched on top of one of the sort of struts that come out from the rail. So thank goodness it got up there because, that's obviously why it was still okay. Oh, so I had to get rid of the cats. I go get a little ladder. I climb up. I get the finch down, whatever. This poor little thing is just absolutely distraught. I mean, I can't even stand up. I've got it in my hand and it's leaning to the side. And I go, oh my goodness. Okay. So I go upstairs. I think to myself, okay, I'm going to get in a container. I start getting some fabric and stuff like that to just get it in. I don't know what to give it. It doesn't seem to want to take any fluids or anything like that. And I try to put it in the container and it just really it just falls over, and it is just, its eyes are closing. I can see it's in a bit of shock. And I go, okay, I'm just called, okay, no, the container's not going to work. So back it goes into my hands, one hand over the top. I mean, it's probably as big as this crystal. I mean, really, really tiny. I mean, they like the size of sparrows and little swallows. They little birds. They really are too precious. And they've got this beautiful splash of red on their faces. And so anyway, I hold it in my hand, and I must have sat there for about an hour with this little bird in my hand, and I kept sort of checking on it and just sending it healing energy and just calling in the angels, and whatever will be, but I didn't get the sense that it was going to pass. And anyway, as I say, about an hour later, I sort of open my hands and I bring it up here, and it swivels its head round to look at me, and now it's kind of standing on its feet, and I go, oh, yay, okay. So now it's probably even more frightened with, me kind of looking at it like this to check that it's okay. And I think, okay, now I've got to let it go, because now I don't need to traumatize it anymore. And so I take it outside on the other side of where my cats are. I walk across to the other side of the golf course, and I open my hands, and I've got my hands open. And it's like, okay, you can go now, you can go now. And then I'm thinking, well, where should I set it down? Maybe it can't fly. I'm now not sure what's going on. And as I try and set it down on this one sort of little tree that wasn't too high from the ground, it flies away. Oh, so beautiful, just the best outcome. Anyway, so that was day one. Day two, I am sitting in the house and I hear a noise. Oh, no, sorry, I lie. I went to fetch my daughters. We come back. I was gone for an hour. We come back and there are feathers everywhere again. And so my daughter runs downstairs and she says, oh, there's a bird, and it comes flying up the stairs, and now it's trapped behind the garage door. And so now we are getting it out. And I mean, we've just walked in. I mean, the front door's still open, the car doors are still open, and now we're on bird rescue number 2. So anyway, she manages to get the bird out. She squeezes behind the door. She gets the bird out. She says, Mom, I need to go to the loo. Dumps it in my hand. And I go stand outside in the driveway going, there you go, because I've just seen it fly up the stairs, so I know that it's okay. And it doesn't move. So I go a little bit closer to the road and I open my hand again, and it doesn't move. But it's very alert. It's looking at me. And I'm standing there really like a crazy person on the side of the road, bird, hand raised, bird in the air, talking to it, and cars are going past. I mean, it must have been a real sight. Anyway, eventually after about 10 minutes, I swear, it turns its body in my hand, turns its body and kind of looks at me, turns back around and takes off. Like, whoa, like staring at me, like really, like we made eye contact. And I'm just going, wow, 2 days, 2 finches, 2 days in a row. This was quicker than yesterday. Like, what is happening here? Day 3, I'm sitting in the lounge. My cat comes in with a bird. So I rescue the bird. I pick it up. I take it outside. It's another finch. I mean, they all have got the splash of red on their face. And I open my hand outside and bam, it's gone. And I was standing there for about a couple of minutes just going, how is that? 3 finches, 3 days, 3 experiences, them looking at me, this unfolding. There feels like there's such a deep message here that I didn't get on day 1, so they had to send more. anyway, so it was so interesting because, again, as I'm driving to fetch my daughters that afternoon, often, I don't know if you guys know, but apart from our waking whispers, the most of the time that I get things dropping in is when I'm driving and when I'm ironing in that like alpha stage. So as I'm driving, I have this reflection. And I journaled about it because it was so interesting. And each bird was representative of a phase of collective awakening and how far we've come, how much we're shifting, and how fast we're actually moving. So the first day I was with the bird for an hour. It was quite collapsed. It needed a lot of work. The second day it was like it was on its feet. It was only with me for 10 minutes. And then the third day it was just gone. And what I'm getting from my journaling is that it's showing me that the birds were kind of showing me how rapidly things are actually changing. When we think things are not changing, this was like a physical, like 3-day thing in a row of how things were speeding up, and even how I'm changing, because it was like the healing energy that the way I was working with the birds was also shifting, maybe to become a bit more potent, or maybe they didn't need as long, or something like that. It was just really, really interesting. Or even the way maybe I was calling in the energy, that the energy is allowed to come in a much bigger way, not necessarily that's me, but it's also, I know that I've shifted. So it's all of it, if that makes any sense. But what really, really landed as I was driving is this line. And we've all been, excuse the pun, but we've all heard the line of hold the line, stay steady, hold the line. What dropped in for me is we're no longer holding the line, we're holding a frequency now. And it's quite different, because it's like we're not just holding space, and we're not holding the line. We've anchored in this frequency, and we are holding a frequency. And I know that might not make sense verbally, but I hope you can feel that. We're no longer holding a line or space. We're holding a frequency. And the way it just dropped in was like, wow. It was just so, so, so big. And anyway, so then what happened is I continued to, when I came back, obviously the journal was out, everything was going, oh wow, this has dropped in, this is what the birds mean, this is utterly magical. And really, what I wanted to share with you, because I think it's helpful for anybody out there, and always take what resonates. But these were some key things that dropped in while I was journaling. And I think it's so important for us at this time to just realize that all is not lost. Yesterday, I had a really, really, really shitty day. And it was like this roller coaster that we're on. And it, like, you keep feeling like you're back in the doldrums, and like, oh, what's the point? But this is why I came on to share this today, because it's so important to just keep sight of the light and the good, and how far we've come. Our mind has the tendency to keep latching onto the negative, and we know that this reality that we see is not really as real as the unseen realm. So this message feels really important to share. So for anybody who's here and anybody's watching later, may this inspire some hope and some magic in you. So the first one was, we've all heard that story, like the light has already won. I want to say I understand it. When I was sitting there journaling and having these moments, it was like, whoom. I know it like landed. There's a difference between sort of understanding something intellectually and really allowing it to almost become embodied. And I'm getting full body goosebumps as I share this, but the light has won. And what I mean by this is it's not just a concept, but I felt it as truth. It's just this physical reality that is catching up. That's really what it means. And I saw that in the birds. I saw it in real time. And I think that's what made it so impactful for me, was that the light has already won, but the physical reality takes a little bit longer to just catch up. So it's a really interesting space to be in, but I feel like that's a really, really important message for anybody out there who's going, why am I seeing nothing changing? And I think that's the other thing. We can feel things are changing, but we're not necessarily seeing it with these two things at the moment. So just to just to keep hanging on to that on the days that things do feel dark. The light has already won. I feel it. I feel it and I know it. Really, really important. The next thing is, and I've spoken to this as well, is really important again to stop energizing what we don't want. So even if you say, well, I don't want that, you're still giving it energy. So instead say, I want this. What do I want to create? So rather work from, I guess, creating from your vision and not from fear. And again, this is critical right now because with all these new energies that are in here, our power and our manifestation and our thoughts and our words and our vibrations and everything are so much more potent. So it was like, this was like a whoa. When I've just seen this in real time, I mean, every time I speak, I kind of close my mouth and goes, that really what I want to speak into existence. I'm very, very mindful at the moment of just what we are creating. And then there was something else, this what I called sort of the fear frequency, and I mentioned it on one of my other lives, and almost this truther fatigue. So for anybody who follows some of these truther communities, I feel like they are caught in the very same loops of fear as the systems that they're opposing. And it's becoming very, very, very apparent. I mean, I'm following very few people at the moment. And it's almost like there's a lot of, well, they're doing this in the sky and there's that happening. And it's like, well, that's still fear. It's like we're these mere humans at the mercy of everything that's going on. No, we know we have this power now. And yes, there are these things going on. That awareness is key, but it's not to energize that. Let's stand for that different frequency rather than thinking, oh, well, what can I do? And I'm just being bombarded and, we need to get angry about this. And no, we just need to hold that frequency of new earth and know that if you are doing energy work and if you are going out in nature and whatever, you are transmuting some of that stuff just by your very intention. And if you work on your biofield or your aura or your energy body, whatever you call the biggest part of you, that has a huge impact. So don't feel like you are victim and you have no control over what's going on out there and what things are being sprayed and put in the food and what have you. It's really, really important. We have the power to alchemize these things and change these things. So that was really, really important. And then the other thing that dropped in was sovereignty isn't war. And this touches on those other points, but it isn't about the fighting back against. It's not about the fighting against and the rallying against and the getting angry it's about standing in your field, rooted, clear, knowing who you are, knowing your power, standing in that power and going, I am the change that I wish to see in the world. And just to really, as I said, embody that frequency. We don't want to weaponize it because then we're kind of going back to the same thing that we're trying to get away from. And and the other thing is if you're talking to people, remember that sometimes you don't need to defend your frequency and your standpoint. You don't need to change their minds. You just need to sometimes stand in silence and hold your frequency. Let others think what they will. There is no more having to defend yourself. You are perfectly okay as you, and to really stand in that. Really, really something that really came through very strongly. And then again, everything is energy. So let's just check in. Is somebody draining you? Is something draining you? It's really about protecting your frequency, holding your light, protecting your light like it is sacred, and protecting you like you are sacred, because you are. We are all sacred. All of us are. Some of us are they haven't remembered that yet, but we are all these beings, and our light deserves to be protected, respected, revered, honored. Don't let anybody take that away from you. And your energy is everything. And I've spoken to that. I mean, I spoke about that, I think, last year in a video of how energy is becoming more important because, of course, as the unseen world becomes more and more visible to us and we can interact with it, it's really, really a key thing. So The other thing that I just wanted to touch on is that I know I released a video this morning about the whale ceremony and where I discharged my water. But there's been something happening for me, and I noticed it on the beach, and it dropped in for me, and I wanted to share it because I don't know if any of you are experiencing this, but I've noticed that when I'm crying at the moment, sometimes my tears are burning. They feel like acid. And as they run down my face, they burn my skin. But the first time it happened, I thought, oh, did I have makeup on? Maybe it was the mascara. Maybe it was maybe something was happening. But when I was on the beach that day, that wasn't it. There was another day, I think last week, that I spent bawling for a couple of hours, and I noticed that my tears were burning. They were burning my eyes, my eyelashes, my sort of eyelids. As it trickles down my face, it burns. And I really tuned in to see what is that. And what I got from it is that in the same way some of us are physically purging, so we might have days where we have, stomach issues, or we are physically purging out the mouth and that kind of thing. And we're having all these symptoms where we're releasing density from the body, is that our tears are purging as well. But it's more like it's a detox through the eyes is kind of what I got. And this was just really showing to me how this is frequency work, and we know how important our tears are because they're the waters of our body. But if you are crying and you are noticing that your tears are actually burning, it's like a purging through the eyes. That's what I was given. So I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that, but it's been really, really freaky to have my eyes burning like that, almost like I want to go get eye drops. You start crying, and normally afterwards your eyes burn, but my tears are actually burning, and not all the time. Sometimes I'll cry and they will feel like normal tears, and other times they are stinging and burning so badly. And then it passes. It kind of passes after a minute or two, and then they become like normal tears again. So really, really interesting, because I haven't heard of anybody speak about that as like an ascension symptom. And the other thing is that I had a lot of remembrance while I was on the beach. I was suddenly struck with how, we sometimes find it so difficult to carry our own pain and our own trauma. And I just thought, I was struck as I was pouring the water into the ocean, just about Gaia. Every time a whale is caught in a net, every time a whale's killed, a shark is finned. What I mean by that is, when they make soup from them and they let their bodies drop to the bottom of the ocean. Every time a turtle is caught in a net, every time there is something that happens to one of Gaia's children, she feels that. And it was just the weight of it just settled into me. And then that's why I was bawling on the beach. I was just like, I had to tell her, we are here. We are remembering. We are awake. We are holding the frequency, and we are going to hold this while the others awaken. But it was so big for me, and I just I did feel almost like a weight dropping after that, because I know she's okay, and we are remembering, we are coming back, and that is enough. In fact, it is everything. So I just wanted to share that little insight from when I discharged the water. I'm getting a little bit emotional, so I'm going to move on. But the last thing I wanted to touch on really is the body is a bridge. And this is what also came through in my journaling. The body is not a limitation. We know it's not this failing suit like we've been led to believe, but it is divine tech. And what was really coming through is that our emotions are not a weakness. They are our guidance system. Our emotions tell us what is real, what's aligned, what's sacred. It's okay to cry. It means that you can feel. It means that you are human. Let the tears flow. And the frequencies coming in now, they're not really bypassing the body. Well, they're not bypassing my body. In fact, the frequencies coming in now require us to embody them. There's no more living out there and whatever. The body is a piece of divine tech, and we've been given it for a reason. Otherwise, we'd be floating around, as I've said before, in the ether, and we wouldn't be here in this physical form. But you are the bridge. Your physical vessel, you and the being that lives within you, within that physical vessel, are the bridge between the unseen and the physical. So the message that really dropped in was, don't numb out, but rather tune in. And no matter how big it feels, and whether it feels it's going to overwhelm you and whatever, that's exactly what our bodies are meant to be doing. We have got to anchor in this frequency. And remember, the more we feel, the more the true self just comes online. The more we feel in an unfeeling world, the more we feel in an uncaring world, that is what changes everything. We were never here to be numb. We were never here to be the automatons. We need to feel. We have a heart. We have a soul. We have to feel. So don't numb out. It's okay. It's okay. And then while we were talking about the body, I wanted to touch on the mind, because this dropped in for me yesterday while I was spiraling through this very dark day that I was having. But in case anyone else out there is feeling this, is if you're feeling like your brain is melting, if you're feeling like it's in overdrive, if you feel like it keeps running in mental loops, this for me was what came in, is that this is the mental loop that's really trying to understand everything. It's trying to understand the split, the timelines, the collective. Is this for me? Is this for them? When's it going to happen? How's it all going to happen if those people aren't awake yet? And there's all the stuff that goes on all the time. I mean, I don't know if anybody else out there has days like this where you go, but am I really making a difference? And if they aren't doing it, then where's this? And how many do we have to be? And the mind is just terrible at the moment. And the thing is that the truth is that I believe we're crossing a threshold where the mind can't lead anymore. It just can't. And it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of transition. And remember that the mind is also not the enemy. It's doing what it's always done, and that was to keep us safe. But the problem is that it doesn't know how to deal with what is going on at the moment. And so, just in case that's helpful for anybody out there, there tends to be a lot of like grabbing onto all these things and trying to make sense of it. And sometimes what I do is I just go, well, I just don't care. I just speak it out loud and I go, I don't care about what you are trying to work out in there. I just don't care. And I try and move on to something where, even if I just go outside and touch a tree, because that's in Israel, so the mind at the moment is behaving in quite strange ways. And I do understand it, but sometimes it's really hard to get out of that. And so the other thing is that the shift is happening at the level of the body, the heart, and the frequency, and the mind is trying to catch up. So there was an analogy here about how everything has already happened. Energetically it's happened, and the physical's catching up, and this is the same thing. And it was quite a beautiful analogy that everything's happening in the body. We can all feel it. As I sit here, as I talk to you, I'm getting full body goosebumps again. I know it. I feel it in every fiber of my being. But the brain is having to catch up. The brain is behind, like the physical reality, and that's not a bad thing. It's just because it's trying to do something it was never designed to do. And then it was just really what I had here was, if anyone feels like they're breaking down, maybe it's because the old operating system is coming offline. It just means that you're breaking through. You're not broken. You're not breaking down. You're breaking through. That old operating system is phasing out, and the new one is just really, we've got to almost, there's kind of a balance here where the new one can't really come online until the old one's kind of unplugged type thing. We always have that little bit of downtime when the tech guys come in and they go, we're going to have to take everything offline for a minute while we do X, Y, and Z. I think that's where we are. So if your brain is glitching right now, and if you feel like everything's happening so fast, it's not a sign that something's wrong. It just is a sign that operating system is dissolving. And the message really was that we're no longer here to just survive. We're here to radiate, and that happens beyond the mind. So I hope that these messages are helpful. And so I wanted to just say that just for those of us who are tired and weary, like I was yesterday, I wanted to say again, just know that it is here. The outside world is just catching up. It is here. I want you to feel that and see if you've got anything in your body that resonates and goes, hell yes, I know this is here. The shift is real. You are not imagining it. You are not behind, and you're on the front lines of love, not war, but of love. Such an important message. And so just as I end off today, I want to just settle back into the heart like I started this with, and let's just take another breath. Let's just slow down. Let's just love our mind and tell it that it's okay. Let's give so much gratitude to our body, to all these wild emotions that we're experiencing. They tell us that we're real. They tell us that we're connected. They tell us that the divine lives within us, around us, in everything we look at, in one another. And it's okay. If you feel like you're spiraling, remember to always come back to the breath. Hand on the heart if you wish to. Come back to the breath. You've got this. We've all got this. It doesn't feel like it all the time, but we have. Know it in your bones. And I'd just like to affirm here that's a little something that came through. May I hold the frequency. May I trust what I feel, even if I cannot yet see. May I stand in peace and let it ripple outwards. I am not alone. I am part of the return. And so it is. So I guess the last thing that I really want to say is that the more of us that just hold this frequency, the faster the shift out there takes place, the faster we are going to be able to actually see in physical reality what's actually happening, the fruits of our labor, if you will. And if this video has helped you, share it, please pass it forward, share it with somebody who you feel might need it. I feel like the sharing, the coming together, the connection is really how we weave the new earth into being. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, whether you've been here live. I'm seeing so many comments. I just want to touch on those. Yeah, animals are magical. Love the story. I would do it. Yeah, obviously with the birds. Somebody else has also had some shitty days. Yeah, it's interesting times, and I have no brain left, my human says. 100%. And it's wow. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Carol. There's a few names on here that I recognize, and yeah, it just really know that you aren't alone. You have others to reach out to. Before I came in here, I actually had dog energy around me, and dogs are all about companionship and being part of a pack. And I was reminded that even if you feel alone, you're not. Remember that there's a difference between isolation and loneliness. Sometimes our souls are choosing to isolate. The human in us might feel a bit lonely, but sometimes that isolation is necessary just before we expand a little bit more, or as we're integrating, if that makes any sense. And the dog message was really just to know that even if your soul tribe is just online, that we do have the companionship, we do have our pack, we do have our tribe, and it actually is all okay. So I just keep shining your light, keep shining your magic, keep tapping into that magic. We know it's there. Tune into the dragons. Remember what they told us about our imaginations. Our imaginations create everything. Our imaginations are what's real. So don't let the mind fool you into just going, oh, that's just in your imagination. You go, yeah, thanks. Hey, wow, how cool is that? Because it's real. So anyway, I'm going to end off now. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you if you watch it later. I'd love to hear your comments. Also, if anybody watches it later. And wishing you all a magical rest of your week. And I hope that this little midweek magic has just given you enough of a push just to get through till the weekend. So sending you all so much love, and thank you again for being here. And thank you again to my 4 beautiful new members. I can't wait to start sharing things with you, and yeah, it's going to be utterly magical. Sending you all so much love. Bye for now.